So let's start with step one, sustainable lawn removal with sheet mulching. You'll see here that there is a black arrow with a box that says resource and a website there. These are resources that you can use to support whatever it is that I'm talking about in that slide. I'm probably not going to talk a lot about those resources, but I do recommend checking them out. So what is sheet mulching? Sheet mulching is a form of lawn or weed removal that kills the unwanted plants through loss of sunlight, using a combination of cardboard and mulch to block the sun over the span of many months. So why sheet mulching? First of all, it prevents the use of herbicides that pollute the water and soil. And though there is some debate about whether or not those herbicides are harmful for the environment or our health, I figure if there's a way that's not questionable, I'm going to go with that. Sheet mulching maintains healthy microbes in the topsoil as opposed to sod cutters or a weed mat. The way the sod cutters work, they take out the first couple inches of the soil. They just cut right underneath it, and then you are able to make this beautiful roll of lawn that's so easy to take out. The problem is that the beneficial microbes that live in the soil that are so important for the health of the soil tend to live in those top couple inches of soil. So when we cut out lawn in this way, we're also removing those microbes. The same thing is true with weed mat, especially plastic weed mat, where the weed mat covers the soil in a way that doesn't allow air to go into the soil, and then the microbes suffocate. And they're also not able to thrive due to the weed mat. Sheet mulching is also cost efficient. I would say it's definitely the cheapest way to go. And if you do it right, it's even free. So that's a major bonus. You don't have to rent any equipment. You don't have to pay anyone to come and help you dig it up. It's nearly free, if not totally free. The cons is that it is labor intensive. You do have to source the cardboard, you have to source the mulch, you've got to move it all around, and that does take time. Also, it's not an immediate transformation. Though some people will plant directly after they install the sheet mulching, really, it's best after about 6 months. It takes about 6 months for the lawn to die under the sheet mulching. And it's recommended that you wait for the lawn to be pretty much dead before you start planting. So that's one of the reasons that people will use herbicide or they will use sod cutters, is because it can happen more quickly. But again, there are some impacts that has to the environment. So what are the steps to sheet mulching? First, source the cardboard. And this can be found for free at many stores who happily let you take it from their cardboard recycling bin. I recommend going to furniture stores because they have really big cardboard. And then, of course, you need to prepare your cardboard by removing the stickers or tape, which took way longer than I would have ever anticipated, but it's important because you don't want that plastic in your soil. For less labor, it can be bought online, but of course this adds a cost, and also it's not quite as sustainable because you're not reusing materials. You can also use burlap bags that can be found for free at coffee shops as an alternative if that's something you're interested in. Once you have your cardboard, it's so simple. All you do is lay it over the grass. Just make sure that every bit of the grass is covered, that there's no gaps. If you want to, you can sprinkle a little bit of soil over the cardboard. Some will say that that will help it to decompose. I did not sprinkle any soil on top of my cardboard, and it worked just fine. But it's an option. You also have the option of lining the boundary of your yard with rocks, brick, or some other barrier to keep the mulch in and define the space. And this part can be costly. As you saw in my budget, that took a big part of my budget. It cost $700 for the rocks, but it was worth it. And it was important because we have significant sidewalks in front of our yard, and the rocks were essential in keeping the mulch from spilling out into the sidewalks. Plus they look pretty. Once you have your cardboard and your rocks, if that's something that you decide to do, the next step is to source your mulch, which can be delivered for free by local arborists who are often grateful to bring it to you, because otherwise, when they take down trees, they often have to pay to discard it somewhere. So when you call them up and ask them to bring you a load of mulch, they are so happy to bring it to you. Just make sure that when you call them that the wood is not alleliopathic, which means that it contains a chemical that prevents growth. And this may hinder your new plants from growing. So examples of alleliopathic plants are black walnut, redwood, cedar, eucalyptus, or pine. So just let the arborist know you don't want any alleliopathic mulch, and they should know what that means. Note that delivery times can be unpredictable. Ultimately, the arborists don't know what kind of trees they're going to get. They don't know how big the trees they're going to get are. They don't know when they're going to get trees. That you're kind of going to go on the journey with the arborist in terms of what they're able to provide. So just be aware of that. You know, what I did was I called multiple arborists and told them what I was looking for. And they told me, you know, we'll call you when we think we have something. I followed up a couple of times, and eventually I was able to get lots of mulch delivered to my house for free, and it was beautiful. You can add fall leaves to the mix, but make sure that if you do add dry leaves to the mix, as I did, because that was the season, we figured, why not? Make sure that you have the mulch on top of it, because ultimately what's needed from the mulch is that it weighs down the cardboard and that it really keeps all the sunlight out. So if you add mix, that's fine, but make sure that there's mulch on top. And finally, note that if you do go with the free mulch from arborist, you don't necessarily have the ability to choose the color or the size of the mulch. So if that's something important to you, you may want to buy it, but that does add a significant cost. And I had no problem with it. I had 2 different kinds of trees that were delivered. And at first I thought that they looked really different, and I was concerned about that. But over time, it just all blended together and it looked beautiful. Once you have the mulch, you want to spread the mulch. This can take a long time. This is very labor intensive. I did it by myself, and it took me a month or so, and it was kind of an eyesore on the corner of our neighborhood for a while there, but I just did a couple hours every few days, and eventually the mulch was spread out. If you have friends that all have their own wheelbarrows and their own pointed shovels, and they want to come over and help, you can do it so much more quickly. In fact, when I was volunteering with Sustainable Solano, that was a lot of what we did in these yard transformations and in supporting these community gardens. Was we just got together and spread mulch, and it's amazing how fast a huge pile of mulch can be moved when you have 10 people on the job. So you can make a party out of it if you want to. Otherwise, you can be like me and just take a month and just haul it out. Once you do, make sure that it is 3 to 6 inches thick, because that's what's required in order for it to really keep the sunlight down, which is the most important part. Then you just wait. 3 to 6 months, your lawn should be dead. It's like magic. Your cardwood should be mostly disintegrated. The lawn decomposes in a way that can actually contribute to the soil becoming richer. But crabgrass doesn't necessarily go away all the way. And this was kind of a bummer for me to realize. But I learned after talking to people that it's not uncommon, that crabgrass is notoriously difficult to kill. And what I was told was that even if you were able to kill it under your sheet mulch, that it would just grow back anyway. So just make friends with crabgrass. I turned it into a meditation. whatever you need to do, know that you haven't messed anything up. If the crabgrass is still there, it's just something that you're gonna need to pull. And I recommend as soon as you see it, just pull it if you're walking by, and it's a little easier to manage. And of course, it's best to let it sit over winter when it rains, but if you can't do that, if you need to do your sheet mulching over summer, it's okay too.